Hi everyone, we are live from the Hall of Justice here, the superpowers represented Hall of Justice, and I am delighted on this episode to be talking with comics creator, writer Jeremy Adams. Jeremy, thank you so much for answering the signal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here. And you're
Oh,
going to get a lot of rambling, so you better punctuate everything. Like break in and be like, "Okay, hold on, let me ask another question."
it is all good. It is all good. I enjoy a good conversation. I was going to ask about your initial connection to comics, and it sounds like that's a story that involves Paul Dini and Alan
Ah,
Burnett and some different people. Is that right?
well, the funny thing is that my actual origin story with comics is my dad drew some comics when I was a kid.
Ah,
And he had drawn some stuff for Captain Atom in the 80s and a little bit before that. And my parents were divorced, so that was always kind of a safe place to orbit around conversation with comic books. I loved
hmm
comics. I knew
hmm
my dad loved comics, so of course I loved them even more. Um, but growing up, I went to school for film and came out to Los Angeles and was going into screenwriting. My first credit is on Green Lantern, the animated series. And then from there, I've done a variety of things and then got into the stable of Warner Brothers Animation
hmm
and worked with the great Alan Burnett on Justice League Action. And my mentor friend Jim Krieg was there, and they gave us a lot of you know wisdom and leeway to tell our jokes and be silly. And Alan was just, we called him like the sniper. It would be like everybody would be talking, and then he would just say one thing that would fix it. Like we tried to break a story and argue through a story, and he would say one thing after we're all just rabbling, blabbing about a problem, and he would just fix it. It was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Can I do a quick visual? I'll do a visual shout out. How's
Hey,
that?
look at that.
The
Yes.
special effects are incredible. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
But you have some very cool memorabilia behind you, actually. That's not just digital screen stuff. That is
Yeah. I was a
some.
big Superpowers fan growing up. All the stuff down here are movies and books I've written. And up top, we've got actually over here, I don't know if you see it, but no, 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 no. Those are pins I wore in 1989 because no one was more psyched for Batman 89. I've got a movie poster from a movie I did with Bruce Timm called Batman Soul the Dragon, and
Nice,
other
nice.
poster stuff of stuff in my little off the imposter syndrome as best we can.
We all have it. We all have it. And I see the Green Lantern animated poster up there as
Yep,
well.
yep,
Um, so you've written Green Lantern the comic. You've
yep.
written extensively in the world of the Flash and Flashpoint. Looking at the collected editions behind you of things that you've worked on, you've written extensively already.
Yeah, but there's that moment where it took me so long to break in that when you do break in, you're just absolutely convinced they're going to kick you out
Right.
any second. And my wife always laughs at me because usually when I'm in the second act of anything I'm writing and I'm looking at the job boards for like, well, maybe I could be a plumber. I'm just ready to give it up. And she's like, you've done a lot of things, right? And I'm like, yeah, but this time, never convinced. But you know, I'm thrilled. I'm blessed to be able to do it. Like I said, it took a long time to get there, but I'm grateful for the opportunities, and people have been really responding to comics. So it's great.
Yeah, yeah. And you have a character on the way, something I'm very excited about seeing in the world of comics. I'm not going to say what it is just yet, even though everybody probably already knows. There's been a poster that's been released, at least that's the one image I've seen of it,
Yeah.
from Mad Cave. And so, with that in mind, I know you have a history with superheroes, but anything you'd like to say about like science fiction storytelling and what's kind of drawn you in that direction?
Well, and it's more specifically like pulp sci-fi.
hmm hmm
I remember when I was at college, I went to University of Arizona, and I worked at the movie theater on campus. And there was these two older guys. They were almost like Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets. And I was really into film, but these guys probably gave me a better education about film and television, all that stuff. And they had said at one point, we're talking about something, and they said, "You got to read John Carter of Mars." Edgar
Mm-hmm.
Rice Burroughs, John Carter of Mars. And I was like, what's that? Like I had no idea. And so I went home and on eBay, I bought all of them and I just started blowing through them. And I was like, this is so much fun. And then and then through that and uh, a lot of other people, like Bruce Timm was one too, who would recommend a bunch of pulp novels, Parker novels, and I read the Destroyer novels, and then you start going further back. You know, you do that era of like Conan, Tarzan,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
and then Flash Gordon. There's a level of like science wasn't so codified, so you get away with a lot more. And
Yes,
there was
yes.
kind of like there was kind of a magic to it, and it was so much fun to read these adventures that were unrestrained imagination. It was like they were adventure books and they were adventurous and they didn't, I don't want to say they took themselves too seriously, but the thing that always struck me was like there's some really cool concepts and ideas
Hmm.
and really fun locales and monsters and creatures and that drew me toward that era and you know of course people are cynical, well they got paid per word so they're a little wordy. I'm like shut up, these are great. You know, I'm actually a huge fan of Edgar Rice Burroughs, but the other stuff, as I there's just some vibe about that era
Yeah.
where motivations are very clear and the adventure is on every page, and that's something that I gravitate toward. Even in my Flash run, it was not known for being a heavy-handed thing. It was much more adventurous. It's much more like Doctor Who. It was
Hmm.
just what's the next? Oh, what's this? I got to turn the page. This is exciting. I want people to have fun reading a book, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I imagine you're bringing that energy to the next character that you're working on, and I don't know how much we can say. So I'm
All
just
right.
gonna kind of leave that
We can
on.
talk. I mean, they've announced it.
Yes,
So,
it's coming.
yeah.
Of course, it's Flash Gordon and Mad
Ah,
Cave.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pairing this episode, by the way, with a talk I did yesterday with Jim Keefe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So a nice Flash Gordon duo there. Um, but Mad Cave is a publisher that's gotten on my screen in the past year and a half maybe, and it was actually through Monomyth. I know a lot of people notice it through Nottingham, but I've just been really pleased and impressed with what they're publishing, and it's been fun to explore that world. And so no sooner than I started exploring, they have all these cool announcements.
Yeah.
And so, what have your experiences with the project been like so far that you can talk about, that Mike Martz
Ah,
won't attack me about?
well, Mike gave me my first opportunity to pitch into comics about 10 years ago. It was
Oh,
long
wow.
before I became a comic writer, and I'd always wanted to be. But we remained friends and always looking for something to work on. And I think after I had started doing Green Lantern, I think I had enough juice, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
I was pitching some creator owned stuff and they said, hey, I don't know if you'd be interested, but we have some licensed stuff that you might want to take a look at. And they mentioned Flash Gordon. And as much as I, you know, immediately think of the Queen soundtrack and the movie, which is which is such a fun tongue-in-cheek faithful adaptation of Flash Gordon in a strange way.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
which, by the way, also produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who I had an internship with. He was fascinating as well. But you know, he said, "Hey, you want to do that?" And I said, or he was mentioning, I go, "I do Flash Gordon." He's like, "Really? Oh, it's yours." I was like, "Oh." And so the next day I wrote up, this is what I would do over like the span of a bunch of issues. And I think they were really excited about it. There, you know, anytime you're dealing with an IP that belongs to someone else, there are always a little hoops to get through. And
Hmm.
there are always little things that maybe didn't, you know, for the corporation, for King Features in particular, didn't age as well as maybe some other things.
Hmm.
So there are bits, but I usually take those things as ways as what some people get mad at or stumbling blocks. I always look at, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity to kind of like work that into the story and make something really, really fun with
Hmm.
it. So Flash Gordon is coming. It's it is pulp sci-fi. I mean, that's that I
Love
have
it.
not deviated. It is not navel gazing, nor is it, maudlin. It is fun and adventure and the square jawed hero that saves the universe. But there's going to be a lot of twists and things, almost like jazz, like variation on a theme for certain things, which I'm excited to explore. And honestly, excited just to as I write, learn more about the universe of Flash Gordon,
Yeah,
which has
yeah.
kind of been out of, you know, the public consciousness. It pops in and out, but for a
Hmm.
while, it's a unique challenge.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice to see that character get back to the forefront because I know there have been newspaper strips and things like that.
Yeah,
But growing up, I mean, of course, the Defenders of the Earth was a big
yeah,
thing. And so he was a key feature there along with the Phantom and other characters. So nice to
yeah.
see the recentering. If it's okay, I'll take a question here that's
Yeah.
not on the list. You're mentioning your connection with film. So it's kind of a writer craft kind of question. I imagine that working in film prepared you a lot and put a lot of those seeds in place for writing comics because they're pretty similar at the script level. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, more so animation is than live
Mm-hmm.
action. I worked on Supernatural, and it was, less detailed in the action beats and much more emphasis on dialogue and some of that stuff. In animation, it's very similar in terms of you're creating a blueprint for other people to build a house upon. And so, at
Hmm.
least in animation, the animation I've done, and I've done a lot, it's always been a way to help the storyboard artists bring it to life. And you're keeping people above you happy with notes and stuff, but it is detail oriented and special effects and sound effects and all that stuff. The actual So I would say that animation and comics are very close
Hmm.
in style. But the strange thing about comics, at least that I found, is there is no codified version of how to write comic books.
Hmm.
That which is peculiar to me. And when I started, they handed me a Jeff Johns script. Had no idea I'd be working with him later on. But from there, it has a good template, and from there, I've kind of cobbled together something that I think is a really good way for me to go forward. And it seems like the artists and the editors all kind of go, this is great. This all
Hmm.
makes sense because everybody has their own opinions about whatever. But the thing that's hard for me is I'm a writer. I can barely dress myself. And I'm calling out like panels, and shots, and but usually I work with such amazing artists that there's a conversation ahead of time that I am very open to. Hey,
Hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing. So, we need to change these things around. Please, let's change these things around. And artists are a unique, magical creature that can make anything better,
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
the tripe that I put on paper.
Well, self-deprecation aside, I love the collaborative spirit of that and the idea that you're willing to change things for someone that has a visual idea in mind too. Um, so excited to see what happens in the world of Flash Gordon from pen to paper and into the visual. And I suppose the final official question, we can hit anything that we might have missed. That
Yeah.
is places where people can sort of follow the development of your work, of Flash Gordon and other projects that are to come.
Well, you can go to spacekicker.com, which, sounds as nerdy as it is. And there you will have a link to, my Substack, my X account, all the different places that you can find me. I'm probably most um, active on. Are we calling it X now? I'm still active on Twitter, uh,
Yes, yeah.
you know, and I do write a newsletter when I can get away from things. And but that's probably the best place. Um, Again, it's writing comics is something I've always wanted to do. I think I did it backwards by getting there from film and television, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. Honestly, if it paid more, I would do it more. I
Yeah.
would That
Yeah.
would be everything because it is such a fun, almost immediate response. I just enjoy it. There's too many characters that I want to write, so I hope that people respond to it so I can keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any dreamless characters that you'd like to close
Oh
with?
yeah, I mean Batman is
Sure,
always
sure.
there.
Hmm.
hiding amongst the shadows. I would love to do that. I One of my favorite characters is Ted Cord Blue Beetle, but
Yeah.
I almost don't want to touch it because I feel like I would screw it up. I don't want to do that. There's a bunch of Marvel characters too. Grew up reading Mark Grunwald's Captain America run, which I loved,
Hmm.
and I would love to play with that. But I write definitely more a Silver Age Bronze type vibe in my
Hmm.
books. And some people are just like, no, I need more death. And I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoy that vibe. I enjoy the Silver and Bronze Age vibe very much. So, uh, appreciating what you're doing, and once more looking forward to seeing the worlds that you're creating and the things that are on the way. And thanks for bringing the Hall of Justice. And I
Yes.
see the superpowers Batmobile up
Oh,
there. So,
the
uh,
best Batmobile. Don't get me
really,
started. Oh yeah, the back like comes out and grabs people and has a bumper that
hmm,
you push a button and oh, it's the best. My
yeah,
kids
yeah.
think they're incredible.
Oh yeah, and you don't even need like that plastic shell on it. Like it is what it is, and it's good.
Totally, totally.
Well, thank you, Jeremy, and glad to talk anytime.
Thank you so much.